As I stepped inside, the sight before me was nothing short of astonishing. What happened next would leave anyone in disbelief. Would you have reacted the same way, or simply walked away? I never imagined I'd be here sharing my story with all of you. My name is Elena. I'm 47 years old, divorced, raising a teenage son, and trying to hold myself together one day at a time. By day, I'm a mother. By night, I wear my scrubs and step into the demanding world of nursing. The long hours, the exhaustion, the emotional weight of the job, it all follows me home. Life often feels like a never-ending loop. Work, commute, home, sleep, repeat. Somewhere along the way, I started losing pieces of myself. Then, unexpectedly, I found an escape. Bowling. It wasn't glamorous. It wasn't new, but rolling that ball down the lane became my quiet refuge. Last year, I joined a small local league in Riverside just to stay active. To my surprise, I discovered I was actually good at it. Good enough to qualify for an official tournament in Springfield, 3 hours away. For the first time in years, I felt connected to the woman I used to be. Before the divorce, before the weight of responsibility dimmed my spark, I trained for months, clinging to that feeling, believing this tournament was my chance to reclaim something I thought I'd lost. But life, especially motherhood, rarely allows focus on just one dream. My teenage son Z was going through a rebellious phase of his own. He needed me more than ever. The last time I left him alone for a weekend, things didn't go well. I wasn't willing to repeat that mistake. So I made a decision to chase my dream without abandoning my role as a mother. I booked a weekend trip for both of us near the tournament venue, a small hotel in Riverside with an indoor pool, something I knew he'd enjoy. That morning, I woke before sunrise. I gently shook Z awake, reminding him that breakfast was waiting. He groaned at first, buried beneath the blankets, but I could tell he was already thinking about pancakes. And in that quiet moment before the day truly began, everything felt possible. The hotel restaurant was quiet that morning, wrapped in a calm warmth that made time feel slower. Sunlight filtered through the windows as the scent of coffee and fresh pancakes filled the air. Z's eyes lit up the moment he saw the buffet. Tall stacks of pancakes drenched in syrup, freshly made omelets, golden eggs, and crispy bacon lined the counters. He filled his plate without hesitation, savoring every bite like it was something precious. I smiled, choosing a simple omelet for myself. We sat there longer than usual, enjoying the rare stillness. No singing, nozzing, and unspoken understanding. After breakfast, I asked if there was anything he wanted to do before I headed to the bowling alley. His face brightened instantly. There was a mall nearby, he explained. Riverside Shopping Center. Inside it was a specialty store he'd been wanting to visit for months. There was a particular game he'd been searching for, one he hadn't been able to find anywhere else. For a moment I hesitated. Between hotel costs, tournament fees, and everyday expenses, money was already tight. But the excitement in his eyes reminded me how rarely he asked for anything. So I agreed. The mall was buzzing with life. Voices overlapping, footsteps echoing, lights reflecting off polished floors. We moved through the crowd together, surrounded by a world that felt both overwhelming and alive. Our destination was clear. GameStop. The moment we stepped inside, Z spotted it. An old used game displayed behind the counter marked at nearly $60. My heart sank. It was more than I was comfortable spending, especially on something secondhand. I looked at him. He didn't beg. He didn't pressure me. He just smiled, quiet, hopeful, grateful. With a deep breath, I pulled out my wallet. In that instant, the money felt secondary. What mattered was the joy on his face, the unspoken thank you in his eyes. It was one of those small sacrifices that parents make without a second thought, even when it stings a little. We spent hours wandering the mall afterward, passing storefronts and sharing stories. Those moments felt like treasures, fragile, fleeting, and deeply meaningful. For a brief while, it felt like the years slowed down, like I hadn't lost my son to time just yet. That evening, I returned to the Springfield bowling alley. Despite feeling emotionally full, my body was exhausted. The long day caught up with me and my performance suffered. I slipped from a possible second place finish to fifth. It hurt, but I reminded myself why I was there. This wasn't just about winning. It was about proving to myself that even with responsibilities, exhaustion, and sacrifice, I was still capable of chasing something for me. When my teammate Sarfina won the tournament, I felt nothing but pride. Her dedication paid off and her victory felt like a shared triumph. After the awards ceremony, a few teammates suggested we celebrate nearby. I hesitated, unaware that what awaited me next would change everything. The place they chose was quiet, too quiet for a celebration. A dimly lit lounge just a few blocks away from the bowling alley. Soft music played in the background, the kind that blended into your thoughts rather than interrupting them. I almost said no. My body was tired, my mind stretched thin, and all I wanted was sleep. But something in me, a small restless part, needed one more pause before returning to reality. So I went. Inside, the atmosphere felt heavy with unspoken stories. Laughter came in short bursts followed by long silences. I took a seat near the edge, nursing a drink, letting the moment pass without expectation. That's when I saw him. He wasn't loud or attention-seeking, just sitting across the room, shoulders slightly slouched, eyes distant, like someone carrying more weight than they let on. Our eyes met briefly, then again it was nothing at first, just a glance. But sometimes a single look holds more meaning than words. He introduced himself casually when he joined our table. There was an ease to him, a calm presence that felt unfamiliar and strangely comforting. Conversation flowed naturally about bowling, work life, no forced smiles, no pretenses. I learned he had his own past, losses, regrets, a life that hadn't unfolded the way he once imagined. And somehow in that short span of time it felt like he understood me. That realization scared me. I reminded myself who I was. A mother, a nurse, a woman shaped by responsibility and restraint. I didn't come here for connections. I didn't come here for distractions. So when the evening wounded down, I stood up first. I thanked everyone, wished them well, and walked out into the cool night air. My heart was steady, but my thoughts were not. Something had shifted. Quietly, subtly. Back at the hotel, Zifa was already asleep. I stood there for a moment, watching him breathe, grounding myself in the certainty of my life. Whatever I felt earlier didn't matter. This heat was my priority. Still, as I lay in bed later that night, staring at the ceiling, I couldn't ignore the truth. Some encounters don't announce themselves as turning points. They arrive softly and linger. I didn't know it yet, but that brief interaction was the beginning of something I never planned for. Something that would challenge everything I believed about boundaries, choices, and the cost of emotional honesty. And once the door had opened even slightly, there was no closing it again. Sometimes the smallest moments quietly change the direction of our lives. If this story moved you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts below.